Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Learn with Jason. Today on the show, we have, I didn't ask how to pronounce your last name, Yang Zhang, is that right?
Yeah. Yang's fine.
I'm Yang. I'm so sorry. How do you pronounce it?
Yang usually. Yeah.
Okay, all right, Yang. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so happy to have you on here. I am going to be we're going to learn a lot today. We're going to get into visual page building, which I think is such a fascinating, it's such a fascinating space because it's one of those things that when you say it out loud, you're like, oh, of course, everybody wants that, but it's so hard to get right. And so I'm really excited to see how you're doing it over at Plasmic. But before we get into that, let's hear a little bit about you. You want to give us a background on yourself?
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for having me. I've been a long time fan of your show, so it's exciting to be on this end. Yeah. So I guess a little bit about me. I was I've been working on Plasmic, which is this visual building platform. Um, and the way that I got here is essentially a long time ago. I actually used to be more of a back-end person, worked in
Hmm.
distributed systems and um, things very far removed from front end. That was what I was studying in grad school. But after grad school, I got into startups and building products and learning about and just getting exposure to building the front end of things. And that's when
Mm-hmm.
I really fell in love with everything front end and you know uh, these services that users actually touch and impacting their lives in various ways through the work
Yeah.
and also just the process of working with designers and other non-developers on the team, and also getting exposure to design tools, visual tools for creation,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing. And that's kind of what ultimately led me down the path of working on Plasmic, which is something that was born out of a lot of frustration with kind of uh, the process and the workflow that in various teams I've been a part of. So
For sure. It's interesting because my path to front end was somewhat similar. Like I didn't go to school for this stuff, but I started out in PHP. Like I started out doing like design. I was in a band and we needed posters and stuff like that. But like where I immediately found myself drifting toward was like, well, I don't want to update content. So I got into like building,
yeah,
I got into PHP and MySQL so that I could build like a little admin interface so people could update the tour blog. And I was like really into the back end side of things. And all my front end stuff was like, well, I want to build the template. I want to design this, but I really don't want to do this like going in and messing with like the little bits of content shift. I don't want to do this maintenance. I want people to be able to do that themselves. And so it leads to, I think at the time I was doing this was early 2000s. It's like, well, okay, then you got to use WordPress. And so you start getting into WordPress, and I think advanced custom fields at the time was like the only option out there for a
oh
sort of
yeah,
page builder sort of thing. And so I'm in there like architecting these really complex blocks in advanced custom fields. And it was always like fine, but it became so prescriptive because you had to define your pages as like the team at Netlify calls them pancakes. I don't know what they're actually called, but like these blocks on the screen that you stack, right? These kind of
yeah,
rectangles. And then within those rectangles, you would let somebody choose, well, is this a hero? Is this a newsletter sign up? Is this another thing? And then within that, if you wanted to, you could build out a million options, but like it wasn't flexible, right? It was like, well, I've given you three layouts. Choose one of the three and live with it, or you can like hire me to build you a fourth layout and a fifth layout. And it just felt like it was half of what I wanted. I really wanted people to be able to build things that were beautiful, but with flexibility. I wanted them to have the ability to say like, well, I like this newsletter thing, but like I don't need this image, so I'm going to pull that out, and it doesn't blow up the block when you do that. Like, you don't fill out the image field. It's not like an empty space. It's actually
yeah,
adapted.
yeah.
So that is it's interesting to me because it's so obvious to go and build a company out of that. And it's such an obvious pain. Like I don't know a single developer who works on the web who hasn't had this exact pain. And I think the chat is confirming it right now, right? And so how did you go about doing it? Like what were the questions you were asking yourself, and what were the problems you were trying to solve when you dug into
Yeah.
to starting this?
Yeah, really good question. And yeah, I do think that there are definitely real problems to solve here. I think the question of whether this is something that um, uh, because there's a lot of website builders and page builders that exist in the world, and I think uh, we get a lot of questions about, okay, how exactly is Plasmic different, or how does it fit in? And um, I would summarize it as Plasmic is essentially a visual builder that integrates deeply with code bases,
Mm.
which I think is the big distinguishing aspect of it. Um, our most common use case is basically, yeah, WYSIWYG editor for Jamstack websites, et cetera. So um, essentially letting non-developers jump in and use it as this no-code tool directly in the context of your Gatsby website or your Next.js website or your other kind of Jamstacky website. And so that way, developers plug this into the code base, and
Mm-hmm.
then folks in marketing or design or any other team can just go to town and create or update new landing pages, do A/B tests just freely without repeatedly coming back to the developers and filing requests on them. Um, and so this just kind of enables all teams to move at their fastest pace. And yeah,
You bring
so
up such a like a salient pain point where what I found is that in the vast majority of tools, they optimize for one user. So you've either got the tool built for marketers and it's really, really hard for developers to use, or you've got the tool for developers and it's really, really hard for people who don't write code, or it's the tool for designers and then there's this very manual process to pull out the design and give it to the developers. And in each of those cases, you can tell that like you can tell what type of organization you've joined by who's at the top of that food chain. Like, okay, you've joined a company and all of the tools are built for marketers. All right, you know that leadership is marketers because they optimize for their style of workflow. And like you join another company and like the whole company is saying like, hey, I know you're in marketing, but you have to go to GitHub and write Markdown. Oh, this is a company written by, or like run by developers, right? And so what I love is this idea that like you can build tools that serve both sides of this. Like it's good for developers to use and it's pleasant, and also it's pleasant for marketers to use and people who don't write code, because they can go in and edit things in a WYSIWYG. They have this no code experience, but not at the expense of the code experience.
yeah, yeah.
So
That's exactly
it's
it. Yeah.
that this is the holy grail. This is what we're all looking for. So I love hearing that that's the angle that you're coming from. Are there any like specific differences? Because I feel like this is a space where we've seen a lot of people trying to enter, right? We're seeing a lot of opportunities coming up where, companies are giving you, all right, so code up your blocks in code and then you can pull them in here and then people edit them like
Yeah.
this. Is there like a unique thing when you talk about Plasmic that's like, this is why you should use it?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a whole space of headless CMSs and other tools like this where that at a high level it's a similar shape of problem. But I
Mm-hmm.
think when it comes to the actual tool itself, I think the big distinguishing factor about Plasmic is that it is an actual no-code tool. So you could actually create things entirely from scratch in it if you wanted to. So it actually gives
Oh.
you a lot of freedom and flexibility. You can bring in code for wherever you want, really, and you can make it as locked down and as strict as like any kind of headless CMS set of components. Uh, but if for those times where you just uh, can I get a second call to action on that hero section, or can I get
Mm-hmm.
like a slightly different layout on the pricing section because I want to add a new tier, or whatever it is, right? Like these things really come up frequently, and for those teams that do want to give the non-developers a little bit more freedom and flexibility.
So you,
That's really
so
where Plasmic shines.
so you're saying that with Plasmic, this isn't one of those things where we're trying to make both marketers and developers happy, but you have, did I say happy? Trying to make trying to make marketers and developers happy, but you're also optimizing for a case where you only have one or the other group. So a team that is a team of one, that is somebody who's not a coder, could theoretically start with Plasmic and build their business, and then, or build their website for their business, and then as they grow, when they bring in a coder, the coder would be able to then use what they built in just the WYSIWYG and expand it into a more mature, like, code rigorous sort of setup. Am I hearing that correct?
It could be, yeah. And
Oh,
also, even in teams where you have already a team of developers and a team of designers and a team of marketers, even in those environments, um, that freedom and flexibility can help your organization move faster and scale out to even while retaining that speed.
yeah,
Um, yeah. So the whole idea is that developers essentially plug this into the code base, and then that way the non-developers um, can create new pages, possibly out of the sections that come from the code base, but also
mm-hmm,
with arbitrary layout as well. So I know it's probably a little bit abstract right now, but happy to show rather than tell exactly what that means in a little bit.
yeah,
But yeah, I think that's kind of what makes Plasmic special. Um,
yeah.
and yeah.
Well, so it's interesting to me hearing you say that, because, like, what I like is that you're almost embracing the necessary messiness of the relationship between, like, a business's needs on the content side. You will always need to adapt, and it's probably going to be fast. Oh, something just broke in the news. We need to adjust the homepage to account for whatever. Like, we support X feature of, like, version 7.8 of whatever thing just dropped today. Or you have, like, an event happen and you go, oh no, the news is really bad, like, it'd be pretty tasteless to launch this thing today, let's go pull that back down. And you don't necessarily want to have to, like, rip the whole production roadmap up and say, hey, whole engineering team, come over here and, like, make these very reactive changes to the website. But you also don't want that full free for all of, like, your website looks like a Microsoft Word doc with clip art, because you're basically saying, like, hey, CEO, whatever you're feeling, just go in here and, like, move stuff around. It's all drag and drop. Don't worry about it. And what I like is that you're saying that there's like a gradient here. We can go in, and as
Yes.
pages mature, like homepage, for example, really brand important, should probably be something that we consider pretty strict, right? Like, it should go through some checks.
Yeah.
Okay, lock that down. We've got a tough schema. You got to conform to the schema, and if you want to make visual changes, you do need to go through a design process, because that's how this works. You'll need a coder to go and fix this. Landing page, or a quick reactive thing, like, oh yeah, we're going to run a promo today because something's trending on Twitter and we think it's funny, so we're going to run a promo around that Twitter trend. That needs to be up in 20 minutes. Get a landing page fully freeform. Do whatever you want. Go clip art with it. Maybe that's funnier. And the rules don't matter, because it's an experiment and it's rapid, and the content team should just be able to try that and see what happens. I love that, because a lot of times you kind of have to choose one or the other. It's either flexible and moves quickly, but there's no restrictions and there's no like guidelines, or there's so many guidelines that you can't do anything without 3 weeks of reviews.
Right. Exactly. No, that's exactly right. Like that gradient or spectrum is
Mm,
kind of what we try to really capture in the tool. Because yeah, you could have certain parts of the website where you want that to not break, right? You want
yeah.
to enforce consistency throughout the design and whatnot. But then there's maybe other parts of the websites that where you're just trying to experiment and iteate more heavily.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these teams that we work with, they have a lot of campaigns, a lot of activity, iteration that happens on the website, tons of tests happening at the same time, and those are actually some of the environments where a tool like Plasmic really thrives. So it's not just the solo makers or what have you. We also want Plasmic to work well for. But yeah.
So I got a couple questions in the chat here. So first is Ryan Roga asking, if I want my client to be able to edit and update the customer-facing side of a site, but not edit the business-facing side, is there a mechanism to allow for that?
Yeah. So I think if your website has different parts, different sets of pages to them, you can actually break your website up into multiple Plasmic projects, each of which has a different set of permissions and set of configurations as well. So you could, give folks edit access to just certain parts of the site, and that edit access can also come in various forms.
Nice.
And maybe some folks you want to give free reign over, like we were talking about just now, and maybe other parts of the website are really locked down, and you can only use the predefined components and what have you.
Yeah. Follow-up question, or not even a follow-up, just a different question from Dr. Verm. Are the web components served by Plasmic, or can they be edited and added to Git?
Really good question. So yeah, that is actually a important feature of Plasmic, is the ability to bring in your components that you serve from your own website. So it's not like you're uploading your code to us or anything like that. You're actually the Visual Builder is very deeply integrated into your existing website architecture.
Nice.
So you can actually drag and drop your arbitrary React components that read from your session state and fetch data at pre-render time, etc.
Yeah, very cool. And I see Kenny's in the chat doing additional flavor here, saying Plasmic also has a content creator mode that allows certain users to be able to just edit, so not modify pages only. And that was what you're saying about really locked down fields.
Yeah,
nice.
Exactly.
Yeah. It looks like we've definitely found, we got Ryan Roga's number today. He's can't stress enough how often I've thought about exactly this kind of project. Yeah, I love, and really, as you were describing some of those things, like, oh yeah, we need to add an extra CTA to the hero, or, oh, I want to modify the way that it's, oh my God, like that is so much of a web developer's workload, is tiny tasks like that. It's such a, like, for example, at Netlify, we have dedicated an entire day, we call it Tiny Task Thursday, to deal with reactive stuff like that. But as you may have just deduced, chat, Thursday only happens once a week. So even with, like, as reactive as we are, unless it's an actual emergency, we've got a 1 week latency on making these content updates, because otherwise the team is just constantly like, here we go, we got to react really fast, never get any like roadmap work done because we're always responding to inbound tasks. And that's, so this theoretically solves at least a portion of that.
Yeah.
All right, so I am excited to actually just dig in and start looking at this. So I'm going to move us over into the pair programming mode here so that we can start looking at the code, because I want to try this out. So first and foremost, let's give a shout out to our captioning. We've got Ashley here with us today doing all the live captioning. Thank you, Ashley. That is from White Coat Captioning, and that's made possible through the support of our sponsors, Netlify, NX, and New Relic. Very appreciated. And if your company's looking to sponsor somebody, hey, I got a slot, hit me up. That is all that I needed to say about that. So let's instead talk about Yang. You can follow Yang on Twitter at YAAANG. That's a great handle. And then let's see what else. We're talking about Plasmic today. So you can head over to plasmic.app to take a peek, which is where I'm going to start, because I'm now at the end of my knowledge about Plasmic. So what's the best way for me to get started?
Awesome. So this is the fun part. You can go ahead and sign up with a free account. So if you use Google login or anything like that, you can sign up that way.
Let me just make sure that the whole thing is on screen here. There we go. All right, so I'm going to sign up with Google. And Yeah, sure, that works. And we'll call it, I guess we'll spell it out.
You can actually skip this part and do this later,
Oh, nice. Okay.
just for the demo. So now that you're in, let's go ahead and create a new project. On the top right corner, you can see there's a button there.
Okay.
And we'll start with a blank project. Let's say at the top
Does
left.
it matter which one I use?
The top left one is probably easier to start with. So
Okay.
And once we're in,
I do like that there's a mobile first option, because that's very rarely called out like directly, where it's saying like, yes, this is mobile friendly. It's like a template, and then the first thing you got to do with the template is check like, does it look good on mobile?
Yeah, exactly. And,
okay, I'm already excited because look at this. This is not what I was expecting. I was expecting something that felt more like a WordPress dashboard, and I'm seeing something that feels more like Figma.
Yeah, that's right. So we kind of give you this infinite canvas of artboards, and it is a page builder though, so it's not everything that you're creating is real production grade, etc. The artboards here are actually two different views of the same thing. So as you make if you change the text there, that's actually changing the text, what it's going to look like on mobile. So you can actually make these overrides essentially on.
Okay, so I did an override on mobile, but what I wanted to do is update the whole site. So this is where I'm working. This is if I need something specific.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So
Great.
So you can set up your workspace like this, so that you have everything in view, and you can always keep an eye on what things look like across different device sizes. But it is essentially this very freeform page builder and kind of web design tool that lets you lay things out exactly however you want. And I think maybe for this exercise, just to make it grounded in something concrete. Let's say we're building a landing page, just a generic product landing page, maybe on some e-commerce website or something like that. And so what you can do is if you zoom out a little bit and select that. Oh,
all right. Got a little overambitious there.
If you select that, you can select this root box here.
Okay.
On the top left, see that big blue plus button?
Yep.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and click that, and inside of there, under template blocks, you can see yeah, there you go. So this will let you insert just a smattering of pre-designed sections. So maybe we'll start with a hero section, which is the hero section 1, let's say.
Yeah, let's use. Okay, all right.
And so there you have hero section 1, and so you can click around and move this into the top. You're already having me. Yeah, feel free to play around with any aspect of it. And you can keep inserting more sections below it if you want. Yeah.
I mean, this is super intuitive for what I am looking for, right? Like it does
awesome.
what I expect. I've got the pieces that I'm after, and I figure what we can do is I've got on the site, I've got this duck, and so we can use this as the thing we're selling.
Awesome.
And so if what do I need? Probably need to save this.
You can go ahead and you can also right click that image and hit copy image.
Oh, I can paste it right in.
Yeah. So you can choose a place where you want to paste it. and just hit Command E.
where's the actual background image for this? If I'm looking at
Oh yeah,
backgrounds.
there you go.
Oh, whoops, just pasted it right in. So that's cool that worked. So I need to hit the replace image button. And then
Yeah, and then there you go.
No.
Oh.
Did I have to click it?
Yeah.
Or paste. Oh, paste there. Got it. Okay.
There you go. There. Yeah.
So it's obviously not quite the right size there, but it lets us do some pretty, like, this is cool. This is very cool. Okay. And so then.
Oh, if you want to adjust the position and whatnot, you can play with all the CSS goodies essentially. But if you want to set it to probably for an image like this cover, and then you can kind of drag around these like top maybe that top one, you can drag it down so that you can see like the top of it.
Do I need to custom and then this moves? What am I doing wrong?
Oh, sorry. If you just keep it on cover on the top there,
cover.
And then that where it says top, you can click that 50%.
I can click the 50%. Okay.
Yeah, and that's probably the easiest way. Yeah, so you can play with that number or drag it around to make it something else.
Nice. Okay. Feeling that. I like that. So then we've got the duck. Just gonna shamelessly plug that I do in fact have these for sale, and I do in fact have a storage unit completely full of ducks because the minimums on a custom rubber duck are very high. So please buy a duck. Okay, so we've got a hero image. We've got a shop now button. We've got some pieces set up here. If I want to drop another version of this duck in, is it going to work if I just drag in? Oh my goodness. Does exactly what I want. I love it. So then I can take one of these. We can kind of like, we'll float it. We'll take this one and we'll float it.
Oh yeah. If you want, you can. If you select that section, you can go ahead and insert. If you press one of the insert buttons, the big blue, sort of.
This one.
That works. And you scroll down. There's a responsive columns.
Oh, beautiful. So, okay, so then I can move this.
Yeah, you can just drag those guys in there.
Then I move this into here. Look at it go. And on mobile,
they'll be reflowed.
Beauty. This is great. This is so good. Okay. So now do some, we can probably leave this as is. And then let's say I want to, it's just a tag. So you can grab any tag that you want. That's awesome. This is delightful to use. Okay, awesome. So then my next thing that I want to do here, if I'm looking at this, is like, this is my frame, and then I want to insert template blocks. And I need a footer. This looks like a good footer. And we've built a whole dang website. I mean, I'm being a little hyperbolic here, but also I don't know that I am. Like, I could launch this right now, and it's, I need to do some like links to the actual buying and stuff. But the fact that I was able to very quickly say, all right, I want to gather interest in my service. So I'm going to put together a hero. I'm going to put this image in here. I'm going to write a little bit of copy and see if people are willing to sign up to a newsletter about this thing I'm interested in. You're 20, 30 minutes in and you're live. Like, that is so freaking powerful, especially considering I didn't have to do a single bit of code here. I was able to just like click, 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 and off to the races.
Yeah. That's the idea. And actually, speaking of that, maybe one more thing before we publish this is you can see a little bit of metadata about the page right now, including on the top right there. under homepage, you can see like the path or the route to the page, as well as the title of the page. So you can set these to whatever you want. And if you click the gear icon next to homepage, right above it, there's more settings that you can configure for SEO
Oh, cool.
and social graph stuff, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah. Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, this is great. Oh yeah, and then you can do the metadata things. This is good. This is
Yeah.
real good. Okay.
Now, once you're ready, yeah, you can go ahead and well, let's see. How do we want to do this? So we can publish this to a code base, and one thing you can do is, if you already have your own code base, we won't do this today, but if you already have your own existing, Gatsby or Next.js website or something like that, you can press the code button in the toolbar, and that will show you a bunch of instructions on how to actually get this integrated. So you can actually, if you just press the code button itself, there's various quick starts for different frameworks. And the idea is that you can drop in these snippets of code, and that way load your design into your app.
Yeah.
And it can be full pages like what you just created, but also if you create like components in Plasmic, then you can render those wherever you want in your code base. So
cool. Very cool. So should I start a new project and let's see how to do that, or do you want to start by just publishing direct from Plasmic?
So yeah, what you can do actually, we made it easy to just spin up a new code base that already has everything wired up. So you can go ahead and hit publish.
Okay.
And see where it says push to GitHub a little bit further down. So if you press that, that'll actually go through this. We also have a CLI version of this that's called Create Plasmic App.
Nice.
Which under the hood, it just runs Create Next App or Create Gatsby App or Create React App.
Go. And I need to get we're logging into GitHub off screen. That's what's happening here. Okay. And there we are. All right. So now I have we'll call this visual page Plasmic. We'll use next because that seems to be the default. Let's see, TypeScript. Yeah, we can use TypeScript. That'll be an adventure for us today. And let's call this LWJ. We'll just call it LWJ.
That sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Now, if you go ahead and I think you can select commit to main, and then you can go ahead and hit publish, and it'll start the process. So what's happening behind the scenes here is it's actually running as a GitHub action.
Okay.
All the stuff for invoking the Create Plasmic App CLI, which again, under the hood, is just running the latest Create Next App or Create Gatsby App or whatever you selected earlier. And then after it does that, it just adds in the Plasmic specific wiring so that the page that you designed will just show up automatically in the final website. So this is a very normal, otherwise normal Next.js app that we're spinning up, and then you'll be able to go in and add code to it and all that stuff, and we'll see how to do that in a little bit. But yeah, the whole premise of Plasmic is that it's not, it's very different from your typical website builder where, invariably there are various, forms of walled gardens. And the thing that Plasmic starts from is that you have your own code base, and you have your own tech stack, and you have your own hosting, and we actually don't provide any hosting today. And so, we're assuming that you're bringing all that, and we're fitting into that environment.
Yeah. Okay, so we're done?
So now if you go back to, I think if you go to lwj.plasmic.site, that you'll be able to, see.
Cool.
Not quite.
Okay, so
I think there's maybe some lag that GitHub Pages has on refreshing sites.
That's true. I think they cache pretty aggressively.
Yeah. So we'll come back to that in a little bit, but yeah, I think that's the kind of high level workflow that we try to enable for you.
That's pretty incredible. So why don't we pull this down and just look at it?
Yeah. Perfect.
Say visual, there we go. And then we'll open it up in VS Code. All right, and so we're looking at we've got the next config, and we are looking at, here's our pages, doing a catch-all page.
Yeah, so this catch-all page is kind of the a bit of glue that loads in whatever pages are available in Plasmic. So if you already have other hard-coded pages in your site, those take precedence, but anything that isn't defined is handled by catch-all, and that's loading in the Plasmic pages. And when I say loading in, that's happening at static build time. So it's, part of the, it's happening in get static props.
Gotcha. So we'll just give it, there we go. Those all clear up. And now we have a running site with no no red squigglies at least.
Yeah.
Can't tell my spell check not to like, come on, that's a word. Leave me alone. So yeah, all right. I'm in. This is cool. So we're prefetching.
So that line right above your blinking cursor, that line, Plasmic components, and then you give it a component name like homepage or hero section or what have you. That's what actually renders the Plasmic design in your page. So you could actually put that this Plasmic component element anywhere in your app, wherever you want some Plasmic designs to show up. So it serves like a placeholder. So for whatever you design in the design tool will show up there.
Very cool. Yeah. So, all right. So we've got this. Let's see if it updated for us. There it is. Okay. So site's live, everyone. We've got it. Did it give us a cert? It did not. Okay. So I don't know. I don't remember how GitHub does that.
Oh yeah. I think they have their own, in reality, you should probably use something like Netlify for your actual hosting. GitHub Pages is really more of like a toy, environment to preview things in. But
for sure, yeah.
It is a simple static host, so it's just enough to let us see that, oh, this thing works, and build a static site for now. Great. So now that you actually have this going, the next step, I think it would be good for us to kind of explore, how do you work with this from the code side? So like, let's say you want to build some components, or you already have some components and you actually want to make them things you can work with in the Plasmic visual editor.
Right.
So for that, the first step is to basically, if you go back to the Plasmic tab, by the project name in the top left, there's an ellipsis menu. So if you click on that and go to configure project, here, if you just type in lwj.plasmic.site/ plasmic-host. And then also, I think we might have to set it to be HTTP instead of HTTPS because of that.
Oh, I got you.
That GitHub Pages thing. But essentially what this does is it will, so I think it should be reloading. Hopefully it is reloading. Huh. Let me just check to make sure this is right.
It's supposed to be.
Here. Host.
It says it's ready. Did I typo this? Let me check. No, that seems right.
No, I think that's right, actually. I think there's just, the HTTPS issue. I think Bruce is right. There's something going on with certs and...
Okay, I'll tell you what, we can fix this really fast. Let's just deploy this to Netlify, and then we can change it. So
Thank you.
We've got a repo. Gonna run Netlify init. Create and configure a new site. Put it on. Oh wait, this is not. Switch accounts. Okay, try it again. All right, put it on my team, and we're gonna call this LWJ, or no, we'll call this Visual Page Plasmic Next.js. Match the repo name. Okay, so that's deploying.
Let's see. Did the Plasmic Studio load again?
Oh, it looks like it did.
Oh, okay. Maybe it was just running slowly before, but...
There we go. Next build.
Actually, yeah, we can start this deploy, and then I think if you can start up the local host, that'll be even better, because then we can just iterate locally.
Oh, okay, cool. Go. So that's the local host, and then it would be like that.
Let's see if that works. Okay, good. So if you copy and paste that to the, yeah, there you go. Configure project, and then yep.
Okay. All right. It's running. Good.
So so now we're that configuration is basically what you need to enable you to bring in your own components. And now we could start with just writing a super simple hello world type of component
nice
in the code base.
I just realized that the Finite Singularity rated us. Welcome everybody. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you had a good stream. And we're working with Plasmic. We've built this page. We haven't written a single line of code yet, and we just cloned it down, and that's what we're looking at here. We've got the code base of a Plasmic site that was all built with no code, and now we're going to start messing with it. So to do that, I need to create a component, which I'm going to do by just creating a components folder, or do I do something else?
Yeah, components folder sounds good.
Okay, we're just going to put it at the top level because I think that's how Next likes to do things. Let's pages folder. Here's a components folder. And you said a hello world, so we'll do a hello world dot, oh god, here we go. TSX. It's an export default function, and we'll call this hello world. It's gonna return, do it. We'll just do one of these. Okay. Right, good, happy?
Yeah, sounds good. And then there's a Plasmic init file in the root directory. So if you go there, then at the bottom, there's a little commented outline called plasmic.register component. And so the first argument to this, you can pass in that hello world function that you defined.
Like this, and then I need to import it.
Yeah. And then
so that's imported.
The second, yeah, there you go. And the second argument, let's pass it an object that just has a name, and you can give it a name like, let's say, hello world again. And then the second is props. So this is a dictionary this is another object of whatever props you want it to accept. But let's say it doesn't take anything right now. So you can go ahead and save this. And then if you reload, then if you now go to the big blue plus button to insert things.
Big blue, yeah, here we go.
Then you'll see, you can search for it, but hello world somewhere in that list.
Cool. I want it to go here.
So very simple component, but it's it's a start. So
that's great.
So now
I mean, I can see how quickly this starts to become powerful, because like if I've got a design system, I'm now pulling these in, and what I have to configure is a map of like, okay, my design system here takes props. So let's update this to include some text, and that's going to be a string. String is declared, but its value is never... oh wait, that's not how this works.
No, that's okay. So actually, if you want, have a very simple component here, which I'm pasting into the chat.
Very simple component in the chat. And I'll pull this over.
This section component, it takes a few different props. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So there's like a children prop, which is probably the most interesting part. Hide heading prop, and that's a Boolean prop, and then a class name as well.
Okay. Okay.
So
yeah, let's do that. You gonna auto format for me? There we go. All right. So we've got now the ability to pass in these props. Typing happens there. Great. Oh, that's what I was doing wrong. Got it. TypeScript is my friend. And then we've got...
just has a heading that's like optional.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So then when I come back out here, I need these. So we're going to drop these in. And for those to be a thing,
so
are these all objects?
Yeah. So the children one, you can give it type : slot.
Okay.
So we'll see what that looks like in Plasmic, but it's basically a hole in the component where you can drag and drop other things into it, if that makes sense. The hide heading one, we can say type : Boolean, and class name, you can actually delete the class name. We automatically handle that.
Okay.
So now I think that is enough to try.
Let's go back in. We'll reload. Not here. Here. Here we go.
Oh, I'm not sure if that was imported or exported correctly, but we'll see.
Oh, good question. Did I actually export this? Export function section, which means that it needs to now be like this. Wait, doesn't like that. Has no exported. Section. Let's fix it. Let's just fix it. We're going to fix it. It's going to be called section. This is going to be section. this is going to be section. And that's going to break everything, and that's totally okay. We're going to refresh one more time. Replace with another. Oh, look at that UX, everyone. I completely broke my code, and you fixed it for me. Beautiful. It's so good. Okay, so now I'm going to zoom in here. So here's our setup, and I can see this prop, so I'm going to get out of here. There you go.
So you can play with the props almost as if, similar to like a storybook or other environments. And then, in there you can insert whatever you want. So like, that's got to insert outside. Yeah, there you go. And then you can insert another thing in there as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you have images from outside that you want to drag and drop in as well, you can do that. So this children slot is something that you can do actual like React style composition with, right? Like you can drop in whatever you want inside of it.
This is great. Okay, so now if I publish, does it just do the? It just does the thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Add a custom component.
So you can let that run, and it would, for the production site to have this, it would also need your code to be merged in as well. But that's kind of the flaw.
Oh, yeah. Okay, fair enough. All right. So let's just fix this real quick and get it so that we can have the HTTPS and stuff. So we'll go here. What? There it is. And then we go here. And then we search visual. Why is it Yarn? Is this a Yarn project?
I think, yeah.
Oh, it is.
I think
okay. Okay, and then do I need to commit these changes here as well, right?
Yeah, for it to show up in production.
Okay, so now we've hooked this up, and so this one isn't really going to matter, but this next one is going to be great. There it is.
And I think that component that you built just now, it's a super simple one, right? Just static section. But if you have already a bunch of these modules that you want to bring in and let people drag and drop, that's one thing you can do to just accelerate getting started in the tool. Additionally, you can bring in more complex components. So things with interactivity or data fetching, or and we can take a stab at one of those in a little bit.
Nice. Yeah, let's see, this should go momentarily. Here we go. The first deploy always takes a while because it's got all those dependencies. While we're waiting for that, we can actually just start working on it again.
Yeah.
All right. So in here, we've got our components. What should we do next?
So a slightly more interesting version of this component is we can make a little collapse component. So let's say your landing page, you wanted to add some FAQs, some of those like, expandable FAQs. So let's create a collapse component. And in that gist, just a little bit down, I have the code for that you
got
can
it
just
already.
paste
Perfect.
in. Yeah,
Collapse.
also very super simple. I would not advise doing this in real projects because this is not accessible or anything like that. It's just a little demo.
I love this little feature. If I can get it to stay, look at it go. Just fix my problems, make them go away. I love it. All right, so now we've got this collapse, and let's just run through it. So it takes title, children, preview shown, and a class name. The preview
so
shown,
slots, essentially. Yeah.
Got it. So the preview shown is whether or not we're showing the collapse pieces.
Right. Like the preview shown is intended for editors in Plasmic Studio if they want to force. Yeah, if they want to force something to be open, so that they can edit the contents, then that's how you can achieve that.
Got it. Okay. And then I think you have the piece that I need here so that I don't have to type it all out myself. And so we're going to register the component, name it, and then for the props, it's going to be a slot. Default value is a title. Children is a slot. That's the body. Force shown is going to be Boolean. Great.
That might be a typo. It's probably preview shown is what I meant to type there.
Okay. And let's see, we've got section. So I just do as many of these as I need.
Yeah, that's right.
So we'll drop this in here, and then it was preview shown. And then I need this one. You gonna fix this for me? Yeah. It's so good. Okay, so so now we've got our collapse component, and when we come out here, if I refresh, localhost refused. What did you not like? Bad gateway. Don't you argue with me. I'm starting to suspect we might be having an outage right now.
Oh no.
Increase latencies. Cool. All right, so let's run it with the standard build or the standard dev command. So we'll do a yarn dev because it's a yarn project. And that's gonna open up localhost 3000, which means we need to update the URL to be localhost 3000.
Oh yeah. So actually, if you just, I think, give it a few seconds, it'll prompt you to.
This is also very like there's a lot of thoughtful UX here that I think is great, because like I've used a lot of apps where the way that they solve those problems is they go, oh well, yeah, if that's the case, then you got to clear your cache and go into local storage and delete that setting, and then it'll like reset to default. It's so nice that it just doesn't do that.
Hard-won lessons, yeah.
All right, so let's add another one, and this time I want to add collapse. There it is. Okay, and this one goes here, and this is, oh wait, hold on. I want this one. No. Yeah, no, I did want the section inside of it. That's right. So I'm going to pick the section and put it inside of the collapse.
All right. Yeah. So this is the title of the collapse, and then if you select the collapse itself, I think it has some padding around it.
There.
Yeah. Then on the right, you see that Boolean prop for preview shown.
Oh wait, I selected out.
Oh, I saw it.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go. So
I screwed it up. Okay.
No, you can move that section into the body if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, so essentially now if you are toggling that thing on and off, you can oh, are you trying to delete that text?
Do I need to move this in? Or is this in?
Sorry, yeah, if you
Yeah, there it is.
so this yeah, and you can also configure the layout if you want it to just span the full width of the page. If you scroll down a little bit to size, you can press that little icon to make it stretch. Yeah. So now it's full page width, and yeah, you can customize any of these contents to be whatever you want. So you can add in a question, make it an H4. Yeah, style it.
Okay, so then I've got my localhost 3000 out here, so I can look at this. Right? Oh, I need to save this.
Yeah. So that was your last published version, I think. And if you want it to update, actually, one thing you could do is in your Plasmic init file, you can turn on preview mode.
Plasmic init. Oh, in here.
Oh, yeah, in the code. If you scroll to the top, there's a preview flag. If you scroll down a little bit, I think it's.
Oh.
I think it was set to false. Yeah. So this will just fetch the latest unpublished version.
Oh, AWS is having issues.
Oh.
Let's see, I gotta.
Okay.
I got a link to the Orange website. Let's see. Okay, that's AWS. That's a bummer. Okay, that's.
That would do it.
It's always when you're live. it's never like, oh yeah, everything is fine while you're streaming, and it all goes out at night. Although I guess for everybody who's on the other side of the planet, they feel the same way. Okay, so we got this. Now we're in preview mode, which means if I come over here and I refresh, I'm theoretically in preview mode.
Yeah. And you'll have
Spelled
your
ducks wrong. Okay. So what I didn't do was add a way to toggle. And I think I just need to look at the code.
Sorry, because I think I pinned it to be true. Or I think I asked you to toggle it on there.
Oh, and when you toggle it on, there's no like override?
Yeah, you can make the code do that. I just I think I left that out of the code, but if you you can check basically whether you're in editing mode or in production, and update the code that way. So.
Got it. Okay. So what I should probably do then is go into my collapse, toggle that off. Okay. Then if I come out here and I save or I reload.
Yeah.
Do I have to publish to get this to pick up the preview mode?
Oh, no, I think it should be. Not sure why it's always showing there.
Let me double check if I did it right. Section, collapse.
Should be right. Could you try refreshing one more time?
Sure.
Just in case it. Oh, sorry, the other page.
I think something locked up. I'm gonna publish because I think it's kind of locked up here. So I'm gonna save. So let's do add collapsible section. Oh no. Did I short circuit it just now? Start over. I don't want to start over. I just want to keep this, which means I should be able to reload this one. And then Is that getting picked up in the background that my partner is like screaming at the top of her lungs? Let's see. Oh, I need to start yarn dev again because we didn't. Good call, Gepino. Thank you. We didn't run it again to pick up the change to the preview flag.
Oh, I see.
But now I'm getting a bunch of errors, which means I think that's just Next.js complaining because it was trying to fast refresh. Let's just start again. Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. And there's our ducks.
Our super simple collapse component.
I mean, but this is great. Like I love stuff like this. Okay, so we got about 20 minutes left. What I would love to see is, so one of the things that I tend to run into when you get into these sorts of things is like, I have the components that I want people to manage, but then I have my dynamic components. I want to bring in other things and like show. So for example, on like maybe we wanted to show the schedule, right? And so I have an API where I can pull the schedule, right? So if I wanted to show the upcoming episodes, can we pull that into Plasmic with settings, or is it like you just build a component for it?
Yeah. So one thing you can do actually is if you so I'll just first quickly show you how these data fetching components work at a high level. So if you go back into the editor, and it's blanked out, but if
I think it's because I restarted the
Oh, got it. In that plus menu, if you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see a component packages. So this is kind of like a store of pre-built components that you can actually drag and drop in. Toward the bottom, you'll see a bunch of, this includes like off-the-shelf widgets and interactive effects, design systems, etc.
Nice.
But
oh wow, Lottie, that's cool. Yeah.
At the bottom here, you can drag in data as well, such as from a Shopify store or something like that. So Plasmic also has a built-in like structured CMS, but we're actually very unopinionated about where your data comes from. So we actually partner with a bunch of other headless CMS companies that are great platforms. I think so let's say you want to insert some Shopify products or some gallery of those in your page. You can install that and then press the Shopify tile. So now it's prompting you to configure the settings, but you can leave it at the default store. This is basically where you would point at some other store of your own.
I gotcha.
And you can see at the bottom there, we inserted your collection of products.
Oh, cool.
That includes, it's basically this repeating set that you can, point at some category. You can choose a different category if you want, or choose a different, sort order, things like that. So these are all, there's nothing special about this component. It's actually just a normal React component, very similar to the ones that you just built, but with a bunch more props, including like drop downs and things. It's a little subtle, but the category and the brand, these are actually dynamically listing the collections from your specific store, whatever you have configured. So anyway, like there's a lot you can do with custom controls on the right-hand side.
Do we have time to try to build a rudimentary one that maybe just lets us pick a number of things to show?
So I actually have this in that gist.
Perfect.
The final example is, this is kind of a slightly longer file, but this is a small set of components to actually build complete apps. So you can turn Plasmic, this is kind of like a stretch of what you can do with Plasmic, but you can actually turn it into a full-blown app builder environment. So if you copy this into a file in your components folder called, I've been calling it app building.
Okay. Just rename this one.
Then the registrations is in the next gist down. And you can copy that into your Plasmic init.
Okay. Coming out, we'll put it here.
Yeah. I think you'll have to import those. Oh.
Just gotta click the button a few times. Right? You're doing it. You're doing it.
Yeah.
You got it.
There's also, I think, add all.
Oh, does it? I've never used that one. Quick fix. Import. And that is.
And then
everything.
the last thing we'll need to do is in these components, I'm using the Ant design system. So you'll need to run, I'm going to paste in this command here. Let me know if you can see that. Oh, it turned the @ sign into a thing, but I think that's the right text. So what this is doing is it's just registering a small handful of components that you basically fetch arbitrary REST queries and also display data in a table. So we can do that actually with your set of episodes. Oh. I'm not sure if my audio is gone wrong, but I don't think I can hear or see you, Jason. I see a frozen clip of Jason, but your screen share is coming in fine. Probably Amazon's fault. Yes, I can hear you. Oh no.
New one, and we're gonna make it the MacBook Pro microphone, and now everybody should be able to hear me. Okay, so that was fun. I think my camera just went down. I don't know what just happened. So,
all right, you're back.
Fun. All right, so so whatever that was not great, but we're okay. So I'm gonna keep forging us ahead. So I've got what should be in here our data table. Okay. Oh, and these are nested. That's cool.
Yeah, so you can go ahead and insert a data table to see what that looks like. And this is something where on the right-hand side, you can pass it arbitrary data in the items sort of thing there.
Got it. Okay.
This is just like some JSON. So I think that's kind of the right format as what you were what you had your episodes listed in. I'm not sure if I saw that correctly.
It'll
But,
be close to that. It's
okay.
an ID, title, date, stuff like that. But it's an array
Got it.
of objects.
Got it. Now the other aspect is you can also insert a REST query into the page. So
Okay, so I'm gonna make this full width, and then I'm gonna get a REST query. Okay.
So on the right-hand side, toward the top, you should see the URL there.
Oh, yeah.
So you can.
Okay, so let's grab our URL. Let's drop it in.
That looks good, and you can actually now drag that data table into the REST query.
Oh.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, where it says items, you can right-click items. The REST query itself has a div as well.
I got it. Okay.
So, yeah, you can select the REST query. You can do that also from the left-hand side if that's easier.
What I need. That's what I need. Okay.
And yeah, and then that data table, you can make it point at make its items prop right above. You can right-click that and do something special. This is kind of a new feature that we have, which is using a dynamic value. So you can just click fetched data and click save. So now it's displaying that fetched data, but the tables in this, the columns in this table are need to be updated. So under the columns, yeah, that first table column, if you scroll up, you can see under data index, you can, I think, enter like maybe, is it called title? Or I forget what the name of the field was.
The title is named. The data index looks to be the name field. So if is it a thing that I can do dynamically, or do I just type it in?
Yeah, you just type in the key here. Is that the right data?
That is the right data. And then here we'll do a description. The description. That's pretty cool. Okay, and then let's maybe add one more. Actually, you know what? Let's not add one more because we're running short on time. But, well, okay, so one of the fields that I have, for example, is a poster, if I can find it.
Yeah.
Where's the actual poster? YouTube's ID. Oh, maybe I don't. So this would be a dynamic thing. So like the way that my site works is if you go to an episode, like I go to your episode here, if I want to get the poster, I can just type in poster.jpg and it'll build that poster. This is all kind of dynamically generated from the database in Cloudinary.
Got it.
But so if I want to display this in my table, can I like dynamically build that?
As an image, right? You want to show that as
Yeah, just like drop in the image.
Yeah, so maybe that third column inside of there, you could add in what was the field called? Sorry.
Like an image field?
Sorry. What in your data? What was that field called?
So we're gonna have to get. It's gonna be interesting because we're gonna have to get the slug. So it gives me like a slug.current, and then we can build the URL out of that.
Oh, got it.
Can we do dynamic?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what you can do is you can add a in that slot inside the table column. This is getting a little bit into the complex use cases of Plasmic, but yeah, next to table value, let's start by inserting an image right there.
Okay.
And you can right-click the image, prop on the right hand side. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I think it has to be that gray area. It's a little bit. Yeah. Use dynamic value,
Okay.
and you can actually yeah, choose one of these uh, items, and if you now switch to code,
Uh-huh.
you can construct the string, the URL string that you want.
So, and is it like a template string like JavaScript?
Yeah. So you can it's a JavaScript expression. Yeah. There you go.
Dope. Okay. All right. And then we just make them smaller. We'll make it like 100 pixels. Look at that! Yo! This is awesome. All right, so I'm gonna drop a little bit of this out just to clean up because that one was just default data. So if I want to drop it, and then we're gonna move this up above here. That's so
good.
cool. And then like,
so just to put this into perspective, none of this was built into Plasmic. That table, that REST query, this is just a normal React component that you submitted from userland. So it could be, you could work with like any kind of backend or platform. Like we had a user who built a whole set of components for like building Supabase apps, for working with other backends. It's pretty cool. It's been pretty cool to see, actually.
Yeah, this is. I mean, this is really, really cool that it's able to do that all so quickly. It looks like this went live, so let's check to make sure that it did what we wanted. Here is our site auto publishing, and so this will deploy. Should deploy in a second now.
Oh yeah, you would also need your code pushed.
Need to push. That's right. Okay, so git add all, do git commit, and say feature add more custom components. Do a push.
So that last little stretch of like, specifying REST queries from inside the builder and wiring things up to a data table, that gets into like the more sophisticated uses of Plasmic, where usually it's like someone technical who's trying to build these like these kind of UIs in Plasmic. So it is. I thought it was kind of like a fun little peek into some of the things we're sort of eyeing as future use cases of Plasmic. But the main use case today is just going back to like building landing pages, drag and dropping dynamic data from like some pre-built backend. That's kind of like most prevalent use case today for Plasmic. And so the idea is there to enable better collaboration on your team.
Well, and I love, kind of what we did here was we went from a straight no code, like I built a whole page without touching. I didn't even have to be aware that code existed, right? I was able to just do it. And then I was like, well, I want to do something a little more complex. And so we built a simple React component. And like that could also be the sort of thing where like what I want is for somebody to be able to place something on the screen but not edit it at all. So we can just do a React component with no props. And that's the thing. You put this on the page somewhere, but you don't control it. Then we were able to say, all right, well, we want something a little more dynamic, because then in here, we've got our data table. And in our data table, we have like this custom data that comes in here, and we've got fallback in case something goes wrong. And like, it's just very cool how much happened, how quickly it happened. Without having to do any like major stuff. And so I would be able to come in here and decide, for example, I think is this the new site? There it is. So let's reload. We'll go see our table live. Like this is extraordinarily cool. And so I can go in and add more props if I wanted to be able to go like add filtering, add search, add whatever it
Yeah.
was. But you know, the fact that I'm able to do this sort of thing so quickly, it's yeah, I'm just very very happy about this. Like it's such a it's one of the few tools that you see where I can see myself using this as a dev and being happy. I can also see myself like doing a quick edit where I really don't want to have to open GitHub and still being happy.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. No, thanks for the kind words.
And so with that, we are effectively out of time. So what resources should people go find if they want to learn more?
Awesome. So our website is plasmic.app, and that's really the best starting point for diving in, playing with it, and just exploring. So
Yeah, just so yeah, we'll do that. We'll also send people over to your Twitter if you want to give Yang a follow and just keep up with Plasmic related news. And we'll do one more shout out to our captioning. We've had Ashley here with us today doing the live captioning from White Coat Captioning. Thank you very much for that. And we made that possible through support from our sponsors. We got Netlify, NX, and New Relic all kicking in to make the show more accessible to more people, which I appreciate very, very much. We were showing the schedule a little bit, but make sure you go and check this out. We've got all sorts of good stuff coming up. Next week, we are going to have Sid Chatterjee on the show talking about Rust. So make sure you tune in for that one. Lots of fun stuff coming after that, and a bunch of things that I keep saying I'm going to do this, and I keep not doing it, but they're going to be up on the schedule very soon. New episodes coming. I think that's it. I think we did it. Yang, any parting words for the chat?
You made it through. You made it through my full agenda. That's awesome.
Yeah, we killed it. Any parting words for the chat before we call this one done?
No, just thanks for everyone's time, and we're always welcome your feedback. We have a great budding community, and thank you, Jason, for having us.
Absolutely. All right, chat. We're gonna go raid web page test. Henri Helvetica is doing a show over there right now. Always really fun to see Henri. So let's go say hello. Yang. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. Really, really appreciate it. We will see you all next time.